In my classes, I typically have students of probably at least 10 to 15 different ethnicities. People from probably 3 or 4 or 5 countries. So it's not unusual to have first generation, second generation, third generation Asians, Pacific Islanders in my classes, in conjunction with first, second, third, fourth generation Europeans that live in America or that have just come in. This last time I had a student from Sweden, and I had a student from Germany, and as well as students from Taiwan and from China and from India and from Samoa, etc. And so not only do I have a multicultural background in my upbringing, but I am addressing people who are understanding things differently. And so as a professor, as an instructor, it provides us a powerful challenge, but also a powerful opportunity. So what I do is I encourage dialogue with my students. And when I talk about something, I ask them, within your cultural understanding, how does this culture deal with it? How do we deal with these? And I encourage my students to have a respect for their own cultural upbringing, but also to understand that the person next to them may have a very different take on it. And then we look at these. Are these positive elements? Are these elements that we should include in our dialogue of values in making up America? Because that's really what it is. It's a dialogue of values, and we find it far more vital and active here than I think you might find it in Kansas, for example. Multiculturalism is a reality in everyday life. Where I live, if you take the 4 houses on either side of me, I have Chinese, Japanese, Hawaiian, Caucasian, various Caucasian ethnicities, Korean, right there. And yet we all have a similarity. We all have a commonality. We all have a common purpose. We all come at things a bit differently, but we find a common meeting ground. And Hawaii is a melting pot. And in some ways, and people now like to use the term stew or salad, the sad part of the salad is saying that one doesn't affect each other. And yet we do. We all do. I am so affected by my Japanese in-laws and my Japanese wife. And fortunately, my kids are absorbing that. But also my Italian friends and their kids and how my children are being affected by that. And also our Chinese friends and how they're being, and my Indian friends. We need to appreciate that each culture can give us so much. But not just that, now it's the Hispanic cultures that can provide us, or now just the Asian cultures. No, all cultures have something to offer us. And as soon as we start rejecting, then we are, William James said, many people think they are thinking when they are merely rearranging their prejudices. And if we just go from this is right to this is right to this is right, we haven't expanded at all. All we've done is left one form of bigotry for another form of bigotry. One last story. When I first became a monk, my teacher sent me to his teacher, who was like a monastic drill instructor. And I spent about 3.5 months in the jungle with him. Getting up at 3:30 every morning, bathing in the river, doing a variety of austerities and stuff, meditation and practices. And about a month or a month and a half after I was there, one day we were sitting in the afternoon, a few hours before sunset, we were sitting on the banks of the river there. And he said to me, "What was your religious upbringing?" And I said, I was raised as a Catholic. And he said, "Is that a type of Christian?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Did you pray to Jesus?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Do you still pray to Jesus?" And I kind of smugly said, "Oh no." And he got upset at me. And he said, "Why not?" He said, if it wasn't for the blessings of Jesus, of your prayer to him, you would not be here continuing your spiritual growth today. He said religion is about spirituality is about expansion. It's not simply changing the focus of your narrowness. And this was an essentially illiterate monk. That was such a powerful lesson for me. And also he said to me, I want you to pray to Jesus every day. To be able to expand has to be more than a conceptual thing. It has to be real. If I am truly going to be compassionate, then I have to practice broad thinking and broad acceptance. Using the rhetoric of open-mindedness, which our politicians are wonderful for doing, doesn't benefit anybody. But open-mindedness and compassion have to be verbs in our life. They cannot simply be nouns.